I'll believe it when I see it. Till then, I don't believe it. I tell you this stuff's gonna work, but it kind of seems like it barely ever does. I'll be impressed if it actually does work. And you're live out there in YouTube land. If you are, then cool. If you're not, well then, I'm just an artist sitting here talking to myself. And that's okay too. Interesting that it's facing the wrong way. Well, that's real clever. For some reason software doesn't want to adjust. I doubt it's going to look the right way if I rotate it some other direction. Says it's still going, but these cameras are supposed to have a gimbal in them so that they rotate more like that. So we'll see if that actually catches up with what you all can see over there, because it actually says that I am indeed broadcasting. So we're just going to assume that it is. Probably isn't going to stay on very long because so far this software and technology just actually seems to love to hate me. Alright, and that actually looks like it's caught up a little bit. I don't see any live chat. Maybe I don't have the live chat on. But if you're out there and you're watching, then welcome. You can check out lots of other videos here on my channel. I'm going to try to do more as I learn more about this technology and how hopefully the reach, if you will, of being able to pass on some of the knowledge that I have, hopefully will go out there into the Facebook world. If you're not familiar with my art, then you can look it up online or go to mavarts.com or Maverick Arts, and you should be able to see artwork that I've created for Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, Marvel, DC, Playboy, Dragon Ball Z. There's a lot of different projects that I have proudly been asked to contribute to. So this evening I'm kind of working over here in the corner on this Bounty Hunter IG-88, and underpainting was done with the hand painted techniques, kind of mostly just done in black, quite honestly. I didn't use a lot of color in there, and I want it to be a painting that's a little bit more painterly, so I didn't concentrate on super fine details in the first stage. A lot of those details can be brought out quite honestly at the very end with the hand painted details, smaller brushes, things like that. So at the moment I'm just using a little bit of dark blue, a little dark gray, add a little bit of water to the paint to make sure that it's getting enough viscosity and such, and just kind of putting in some of the blue grays on the droid here so that he looks metallic. I'm not sure if there's anybody out there watching, but if there is, certainly feel free to ask questions. Try to angle it as such so that you can kind of see where I'm airbrushing, but the nature of the beast is a little bit that my hand usually gets in front of where I'm painting. So because this is a bigger painting, this is a 2 foot by 4 foot kind of what if painting about a failed rescue attempt of Luke to free Han Solo from carbonite. If Boba Fett there in the middle was to stop off at the Mos Eisley Cantina to show off his acquisition of Han and carbonite, and so this is a scene never before seen in the movies. That was a what if creation that I came up with. And it was originally going to be for a limited edition print for Lucasfilm, but they're focused on other things at the moment, not really doing a lot of what if kind of prints and art projects, so to speak. Alright, well that already looks better. When I come back with white and do highlights and things like that, you can kind of pop out, but since I really kind of want him staying over on the edge, then that allows me to kind of focus on making him subtle. I don't want him to be super detailed by any means, since he's not my main subject matter. I need to get a little bit of blue drink going in here in my drink, so I probably need to get more of a brighter blue. I have a feeling that even when I'm live, that if there are comments, I probably have a setting or something that's wrong for being able to see folks' comments, because I don't see anything over here on my screen, which I've got on YouTube, but I don't see any activity like I probably normally would on Facebook, but that's okay. It's a learning experience, and I figured I'd just do a little late night session here. I mean, I gotta do the art anyway, or at least I should be. And so I can just put in some cool, interesting colors here. These little shapes. Kind of weird, even though I'm pretty sure I'm live on YouTube. I don't, it's a bit like talking to yourself and painting with yourself when you don't see any comments in the live chat area come up. So I'll just keep doing my thing, and then I'll go back and review the video later and see what kind of settings I have wrong. But if there are folks out there watching, especially if you're in other parts of the world, certainly thanks for joining the channel and watching tonight. If this is successful, then I'll do more videos like this in the future with live sessions. But if it's not successful and people don't want to interact, and it's not a good portal for me here to be painting, then I'll probably just go back to Facebook for future live demos. So if you want to see me do live painting here on YouTube, honestly, you really should speak up so that I know that that's what you'd like to see. So it's kind of a little glass down here, another drink on the bar, so I can kind of make that look like it's transparent. Airbrush is a great and expedient tool if you get to the point where you can control it and it's not controlling you. And a lot of people give up on the airbrush because it's a very frustrating and cantankerous tool that's a pain in the butt, and it's not very cheap to get started with and all that sort of thing. So pretty common to see the airbrush abandoned by artists. So just going to use this sort of blue gray that I've got in here to start putting in a little bit more tone, give it some texture and stuff kind of in here, especially since we don't want him to be super in the light, but we obviously want to make sure that it looks like that there's some depth to his hands and that sort of thing on the carbonite. So this is just kind of like drawing with the airbrush, but it's one of the reasons why I do a fairly detailed underpainting first, is so that I really can just come in and I've already got a great visual map on where to go and what to paint and that sort of thing. So again, I'm trying to keep the airbrush a little bit of an angle, but I realize that sometimes you kind of have to wait till I pull my hand away to maybe see exactly what I painted. But you know, trying to make sure that it looks like that there's some texture and stuff here on the carbonite, and need more of a shadow underneath this jaw so it looks like it's kind of coming away from the piece. Fortunately, it doesn't have to be an exact portrait when it's you know, on in carbonite, because his face is obviously a bit distorted, even though the casting was made from the actor's face. But there's a little bit of artistic liberty, you know. People are always trying to create art that looks exactly like photographs, and that's human nature. But I've sort of learned over the years that you know, the photograph already exists, and if somebody wanted to put together a scene like this in Photoshop, they certainly could do it. So our job is to actually create images and things that are artistic and that have more artistic interpretation from the artist, and take it to a different level than mere photography or photo manipulation that quite honestly doesn't take a lot of I don't know, not necessarily serious creativity, but a lot of people can just be taught to use it. You know, the computer is just another tool when it comes to what you can do with it for manipulating photos. And, but it's kind of become commonplace, and that's why, you know, anymore it's not really special to see those kinds of things in the realm of photo manipulation, because so many people do it now, both amateurs and pros alike, that it's kind of lost some of its uniqueness. It's kind of done all over the world. Well, still no comments or chat that I see, so it does look like I'm still live, but it doesn't show that actually anybody's watching. But I'm not really sure how the analytics work on this anyway, so probably nobody knows that I'm live at the moment. So anyway, just kind of keep going. I'll paint a bit more, and then I'll review and see how this first session came out anyway. Pretty sure I'm just talking to myself, which I'm pretty sure is also an 80s song. Talking in my sleep, something along those lines. A lot of these little characters that were from the Cantina don't really get a lot of play or love. You know, we see the main guys and the walrus dude and the guy who gets their arm chopped off and stuff, but you don't see some of these other characters, you know, as much. So it's kind of fun to get a chance to paint them and maybe immortalize them a little bit. So I can use the same kind of grays and browns and blacks that are in here to shadow some of these characters. You don't always have to use the exact color. Meaning if I'm painting a brown sleeve, I don't have to use dark brown to tint it. I could use purple, or in this case a dark gray that has a little bit of blue in it, and it's just fine as a tinting and a shading agent. So oftentimes if you're an artist, that kind of thing will give you more depth in your art anyway. So I can come right in here to this shoulder, make that shoulder turn and recede a little bit. Since we know that there's going to be more light and light source over here, then it makes sense that some of these characters over here would, you know, really just kind of drop more into shadow. Honestly, we want to see bits and pieces of them, but we don't want to see it in, you know, really, really high detail. They're not focal characters. So. See what my computer was dinging at me over here. I don't think somebody's making a comment here, but probably over on Facebook. Yeah, it's definitely chiming at me. But I'm not sure. Not things that I need to be paying attention to at the moment. So I can come back to the live dashboard and come back to paint. actually, we could use a little bit of green over here too. Take a little artistic license. Some of these shapes back here. A little bit thicker paint for sure. Gotta thin the paint when it gets kind of thick and heavy like that. Make sure that I got kind of a green. That way I pick up a little bit of the green that's in the Boba Fett. So I'm gonna just put a little green into these columns here so that kind of sets it off a little bit. They don't look like gigantic drinks maybe. You're painting a cantina scene like this, doesn't have to be everything exact from the movie, because we can have the understanding that we didn't see the whole scene and see every single bit or angle from the of the movie and cantina for sure. So plus by adding a little bit of green there, I can put some of that color into this guy's face, and maybe that'll make it a little more visually interesting for him. Even put a little bit of green into this kind of Jedi robe here. And might make it a little bit, stand him out from some of the other browns that are in here. Actually, he could be kind of cool to have kind of a green hand, so I can just start out with a more kind of brighter green like this, and then come back at the end and put it more into shadow. So by making it a little bit brighter there, it brings the eye down to it like he's reaching for a lightsaber. Maybe this is a Jedi or somebody that was gonna help in that regard, and maybe they were slain and didn't make it out. A little bit more interesting to put just a little bit of green or other colors kind of reflected in this guy, because otherwise he kind of gets a little bit lost, which it's okay if he blends in a little bit, but we can give him a little zing, a little pizzazz. So we can just indicate there's a little bit of a green light kind of hitting him. And blow out a little bit of that color in there. Maybe even a little bit reflected kind of up there would be effective, kind of light bouncing around. Should have different colors so that it's more interesting for people to look around in different places in the painting too. So that works, and actually I don't think anybody's watching, so I'm not really worried about me taking 30 seconds to go grab some blue paint over here for my blue drink. Looks like a quality color. And I'm back. How long? We had 25 minutes. We'll put a little blue in here, and then we'll just call this session good, since I'm not even convinced that the whole live stream part here is working, since I certainly can't see anybody's comments, and that's one of the big whole points about working live is that people are able to comment and chat with you and ask you questions as an artist, so that you can pass on some of the knowledge. If you are out there watching, and since this is my first live stream that's not on Facebook and is on YouTube, if I have a setting wrong, and I have a computer over here on behind me, and I don't see any comments, it may be because I have a setting wrong. So I apologize if I'm not answering your questions, but hopefully I can get that worked out in the near future, and we'll make future live stream sessions better than this one, which is just sort of honestly a little bit of a late night test, if you will. Just to kind of check it. And so I'm going to come in here, these little, our little blue drinks that we're used to seeing in the cantina, and I can just airbrush in some of that nice little kind of bluish color into the drinks, and that'll be kind of interesting. These. Makes it very Moss Isley Cantina to have the blue milk, as I call it. I'm sure it wasn't blue milk, but probably something, you know, strained from some sort of nerve hurting creature in outer space. So I'm going to put a little bit of that color obviously into some other areas as well. Into the green back here, a little bit more depth and interest by bringing in a little bit of that. Maybe this is part of the apparatus that makes the blue drink. I don't know. I'm just, you know, when I was painting this, you want to kind of have fun and make up some of the shapes that go into these kinds of scenes. I can put a little bit more, dust a little bit of this kind of metal blue into IG88 as well. And once I come back and actually paint highlights, you know, a lot of this character will come back more towards the foreground. But at the moment, it's just a little bit of a tint color. And a little bit more can go into those background areas. Remember, cool colors recede and get pushed farther back, so even though this is a brown, a blue is beneficial to put into those browns as well because it's going to make it look farther away. So, and we put a little bit of blue shadow on the back side of this guy as well. And you don't always want to have one color just be a straight color. It's more beneficial, you know, if the shadows have some blues and have some purples and things like that in them, because it'll give them more depth and more interest. And that's how the real world is anyway, with reflected colors and such. So that's why at the moment I'm spraying kind of a purple into the backside of this kind of alien Jedi's robe. And we'll just give it more complex shadows, more interest. Look like light's kind of playing off and bouncing off of the character. Again, you want a lot of these details to be pretty subtle, so putting some darker colors in there so they just kind of blend and go away will aid in the overall flavor of the piece, which is sort of supposed to be have a bit of dark mystery about it, if you will. So again, just like we talked about with the shadowing, you can use a little bit different colors into that. So because I've got a blue in there right now, I can tint, it makes a nice shadow color for the little alien hand here with fingers. So actually even a little of this color might be kind of cool down here in the foreground to give the floor a little bit of variety. You don't want it to be just brown, you need different colors. So I think that's a little bit more successful for the overall look. Since I've got a little bit of blue in here, I can blow some into this gun here. I forgot what this particular bounty hunter's guy's name is, but even if his gun's brown, I can come back and put brown over this if I need to go back and refer to my reference material on the alien, but right now I don't have it in front of me. So always try to use your color to the best that you've got already in the gun so that you're not being wasted. So made some progress there on the corners of the painting, so I think we'll wrap that up for the night, since like I said, I think I'm probably just talking to myself. Now if I end up with 5 new subscribers after the video because you guys have been entertained and you have discovered my art through live YouTube, well then I'll be pretty happy. But if not, and there's folks out there that are watching, hopefully you enjoyed a little bit of this brief session, and hopefully they'll get better as time goes on. I'm just trying to get my setup going for live streaming, and certainly send me a friend request on Facebook as well. And hopefully that'll be good, and it'll get better. I'm Monte Moore here in Denver, Colorado, and hopefully you can join us for some more art sessions in the future. Thanks. Good night.